Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Singh Army podcast. Today's topic is going to be on this very emotional video, social media video that's gone out of this young Singh, this young Sikh being the victim of a hate crime from Charlton School, Telford. It's gone big, it's gone viral, it's hit the news channels, it's hit all social media platforms. The school, the police, Sikh bodies have all released a statement about this incident. So that is going to be today's topic. What happened? How did we respond as a community? Going forward, what can we do about it? And how does it make us feel? You know, we were dealing with this kind of stuff 20-30 years ago. And now we're back here again. So let's talk about it. Let's find some solutions. Let's discuss why it's still happening. Today's guests, I've got a mother of a young teenage Singh, Rosie Kaur, Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. And we have ex-school teacher and fellow podcast presenter, Man Singh. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. So guys, everyone pretty much has seen that video now. It's been big. It's been shared thousands and thousands and thousands of times, and I think it's hit every single person, you know, to their core, seeing that video. And not only that, it's brought back a lot of memories for a lot of people, and also it's just showed that, you know, some things will they ever go away? You know, will it ever be comfortable? Will it ever be completely safe for our case study kids in schools in and around the country? These are the things that we want to discuss today. So just going to bring you in here, Rosie. You've seen that video. I mean, let's just start. You're a mother. You've got a son of similar age. In 3 words, after watching that video, how many times would you say you watched that video, actually, before I start? How many times would you say you've watched that video?
I've watched the video once and I just couldn't put it on again, if I'm totally honest with you. I didn't watch the whole video. I stopped after about 15-20 seconds because I was just so distraught, emotional and really saddened by what I was seeing, because it just brought back a flood of emotions that I've experienced in the past with my son. So yeah, it was really emotional watching that. I didn't watch the whole video.
How do you think his mother would feel watching that video?
She would have been torn, I think is the word. And you know, at the end of the day, her son is the apple of her eye, like every son is or child is for their mother. And seeing your child thrown to the ground like that, not just thrown to the ground, but when his gaze was, you know, his hair was open, but I just think it must have been really emotional. She must have been distraught as a mother. Yeah. And
Man Singh, you know, you've worked in the community for a long time. You've held camps, you've held classes, and you know, you don't know that Singh personally, but just seeing that, how did it make you feel?
It was a roller coaster of emotions. Like, you asked Benji how many times she watched it, and it was like not even once. I must have watched it over 100 times. When I watched it again, and I watched it again, and I was flooded with emotions. First I was vexed and angry, then I was upset and I was emotional, because I love the Sikh Panth. I love the Sikh Panth, and that's my little brother, that's my son, that's how I felt. And I just put myself in his shoes. How would I feel at that time? How would I feel going home and knowing I've got to go back to school and those guys are still there and I don't know if it's going to be dealt with? How would I feel knowing that someone was recording it? Because the little brother, he saw it was being recorded, and you could tell that was one of his frustrations when he was on the floor, that it was being recorded. And I imagined if that's a video of me or my child, how would I feel? How would I react? And the first thing I did was go into the Darbar Sahib in my house and just do an ardas with Maharaj Laj Rakhe Singh da. Because my first ardas was, I hope he does not cut his case. I hope he stands strong and comes back stronger. Because something like this is make or break.
I mean, I put it on my social media. I said that, you know, the physical side, we all kind of like, we were that age and even older when we've got into scraps or maybe been bullied or been hit. And the physical side you get over fairly quickly, to be honest. Getting hit, maybe a bleeding nose or a bit of any kind of little injury, you kind of get over. But the emotional side of it, that takes a long time. And like you said, it being shared, so every single person in the school has seen that. And when you're a kid of that age, your school is your world. No matter how many times you explain to the kids that it's okay, but their school is their world. So everybody in their school, boys, girls, teachers, parents, everyone's seen that video. It's a very, very big thing. I cannot stress how big it is for your kids, for your hair as a Singh to be exposed. I'm so thankful that throughout my school years my hair was never exposed once, because it is an amazingly sensitive thing.
Definitely, 100%, especially for a young lad. And you mentioned school being the whole world, and that's why putting yourself in that young lad's shoes, you see that he might be feeling alone at this time, and that's why the outcry and response from the community shook me, because I was amazed that everyone stood up. The whole bunch felt like on social media, from what we're seeing, we're in a lockdown, but from what we're seeing, everyone came together. And it felt like the community had our brothers back, and that was strong.
Just adding to that, Rosie, I heard your interview on BBC Asian Network. You spoke on there, and subsequently you've also, prior to that interview, you'd sent an email. So just tell us a little bit about what kind of things did you address in the email, and who did you send it to, and why did you send that email?
After watching the footage, it was actually all day my husband was talking about this video, and for some bizarre reason, I didn't watch it until must have been about 8:30, 9 o'clock at night, and I put the video on and the footage, and it, like I said earlier, it really affected me in such a way that I was angry, I was emotional, I was just really agitated. So I just didn't know what to do, and I wanted to help in some way, and I thought, what can I do right now? It's 10, 11 o'clock at night. I remember lying in bed, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to send an email to this school. So not only did I send an email to the school, I also went through their social media platform on Instagram and sent quite a lengthy email to their social PR department within the school. I just wrote what any other mother or any other human being would write. Firstly is to check on the boy, really. There's no other way of me finding out if that little boy's okay, because he was punched in the head quite a few times. I wanted to know, is he okay? Is he stable? Has he had an x-ray done? What's going to happen to the perpetrators? Who's going to help support this little boy and his family? It's not just the boy, it's the family, it's the mother, it's the father. And in terms of that boy's mental well-being, it's all good and well. It's great what's happened with the video, and it's gone out on social media. It's absolutely fantastic. But what is going on in that boy's head right now? Is he feeling brave? Is he feeling embarrassed? So I also asked the school, what support is that little man getting and his family to get them through this trauma? It is a trauma that they've been through. So God, I put so much on that.
I mean, just to ask you a question, just to be frank with it, do you feel as if your email would have made a difference?
Absolutely. Do you know, the thing is, Indy, I can either sit there and do nothing, but I felt as though I had to do something. And 10, 11 o'clock at night, the only thing I could think of is to send an email to the school to kind of, otherwise
do your bit
my bit for the community, for that little Singh. Otherwise I wouldn't have been able to go to sleep knowing that I have not done anything. I've just seen this video. Because
it's easy to watch something like that, turn your phone off and say, shrug your shoulders and say, oh well, what can I do about that? It's easy to do that, but to actively take steps, whether it's an email, whether it's a phone call, whether it's trying to get hold of the family, whether it's trying to get hold of the lad, any small step, even raising awareness, so sending that video to other parents who've got kids of a similar age, any little step contributing to that is a big thing.
It's really important, absolutely.
And Man Singh has talked about the community response, and is there anything you want to add to that? Have you seen similar things? And when you went onto the BBC Asian network, how did that go? Was there any different responses on there?
People started talking about, was it hate crime, was it not? We're not here to judge that, and I think it's really important people realise it's in the hands of the authorities. They need to deal with that part of it, but what we need to do right now is stand together, have a united front. The whole community needs to get together. That boy needs support, and that boy needs to know that actually, I've got all these kind of, Sikh family out there, supporting me. It's not just UK, it's gone across, I've seen on Instagram, it's all over Canada, it's all over America. There's musicians and artists all really supporting this boy. And I've seen some images which I've got mixed views about, some of the images and drawings out there. But other than that, I think getting the video and the footage out on social media, because initially I thought, hang on, is this the right thing to do? Display this boy on such a massive platform. How is that going to make him feel? But do you know what? If he can see what's actually going on social media, the positive impact it's having, and the way it's raising awareness, the little boy, the little Singh is a bit of a hero, if I'm totally honest with you.
100%.
Because, Black Lives Matter, there was a movement. I think this is going to create a definite movement moving forward.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it can go either of two ways for the young lads going through this. But Man Singh, this one's been caught on camera. There's 99.9% of them don't get caught on camera. Okay, now we're talking about young Singhs being bullied at school here. This is what we're talking about, and 99% of it doesn't get recorded. So we're very fortunate that out of ego, out of trying to embarrass this young boy, that the bullies actually did record it, and it's been fortunate enough for everyone to see it, because it's benefited the video. The boy getting bullied hasn't, but the video being released has benefited the community, because we can see it, we can deal with it. And we went through that. We were that age once, and we went to schools that were failing in their Ofsted, so we know what the atmosphere was like there. Is it a part of growing up, Man Singh, would you say, or is there a limit to it?
I'll come on to that question in a minute, but before that, I just want to talk to that Singh directly. If you ever get to listen to this, be it in a few years' time, be it in a week's time, but I just want to say, brother, I love you. From my heart, I love you. And just know you've got a whole army behind you. Say the word in it, and the whole band, from what I've seen, you're in their heart, brother. We love you. And you know what? There's no shame in what happened. You did, it was a beating that you caught, but you took it like a man. You took it like a soldier. You stood back up on your feet. And you know what? That gave us horns. Like, you know what? If anything ever happens to us, we know, bro, you stood up. We can stand up just as strong, bro. You're in our heart, man. Trust me, you're in our heart. So never fear anything. The whole Gorm is behind you. I saw an artwork by some artist in Smethwick, shout out to Sanj, and it had an image of the Singh with a whole army of Sikhs behind him and people behind him. And a picture speaks 1,000 words, and it just felt like everyone's got your back. And I thought, when my children fall, or when my relatives fall, or when any one of the community fall, boy, girl fall, everyone's going to stand together. And that's what this community response felt like. And we're talking about the response and everyone doing something. Someone once said to me, and it stuck with me, and it still sticks with me, and they said to me, if you do nothing, you are nothing. So even if you do something, you write an email, you spread it on WhatsApp and say to someone, you know what, brother, if you need help, I'm always here. If you just comment on someone or message someone to say, I'm always here. People that you don't speak to, if you just give them a call and say, brother, sister, I'm always here. You know what?
Supporting.
100%. When you got people behind you, there's no fear. And then a lot of good has come. There's people that have put artwork out. No doubt someone will be dropping a song about bullying and how to stand up. It's inspired people to step forward. No doubt there's some little girl somewhere writing a book about bullying and how to be stronger now because of this, because of the community backing it. And when the community comes together, when our community comes together, we will take diddly. We will take anything. No one can mess with our community when we stand strong. And that's what this singer showed. And another thing it showed, if it happens to someone else, they will know the Sikh community have got your back. And it's everybody. It's people who never go to the Gurdwara, people who are always in the Gurdwara, people who can't speak Punjabi, people who only speak Punjabi from old to young. Everyone's standing together. And the thing is, I've spoke to people that I never speak to about this, and they've said, saying, you know what, let's start putting back our energy into camps. Let's start investing money into youth prachar. Let's start writing books for that level of kids. Let's put out more podcasts. And that's where it began with, like, how much have we spoken about this? Martial arts seminars that we're looking into. So rekindling our love for spreading martial arts and stuff like that. Brother, like, you've been teaching martial arts for years. And when I spoke to you last week, the look in your eye was, you were on fire and you wanted to go and start doing seminars and everything. And that inspired me, thinking, I don't know nothing, but I was thinking, yo, I want to do the same. I want to learn off you and spread it. And it's that each one teach one mentality where we're growing strong and pushing forward.
I mean, just talking about the martial arts there now, Rosie, I heard a little bit of, like I said, when you were on the radio, and your son took martial arts, but it was after quite a big experience for not only him but the whole family. So if you just like to let all the listeners know how his journey started into martial arts.
Okay, yeah. I'll briefly explain. So basically, my son at the age of 4 went to a Sikh camp. And when he came home, he said to me and my husband that I don't want to cut my hair again. So we were like, okay, wow. So where's this come from? And he said that I've learnt a lot. What happened to our Banj Biare? And we said, okay. And then we thought, you know, he's just saying it. You know, over time, he'll change his mind. But then when it come to his hair cutting time, my husband said, come on, let's go and get your hair cut done. And he said, no, if you force me to cut my hair, I'm going to phone the Gyani at the Gurdwara, is what he said. And I'm going to tell the Gyani that my parents are forcing me to cut my hair. Straight away, we just stopped and we thought, you know what, if he wants to grow his hair, absolutely fine. We respected that. And the fact that he stood up and said, no, I don't want to cut my hair. So my son started growing his hair, and it got to a stage where it got quite long. He was going to school with his hair, but it was long enough for him to leave it open. He then decided at the age of 5 that actually, Mum and Dad, I want to start wearing a bodhgar to school. So we thought, okay.
So right. Sorry, just to, you know, so obviously when he was keeping his hair, and you I presume you were tying it in a gutti. Is that something that you had you tied a gutti on someone before?
No, never.
So is that something you had to learn as you were going along as well?
Absolutely. And when we were going through this process with my son's hair, a lot of people were saying, oh, it's going to be really hard. You're going to have to get up in the morning and do his gutta. And I thought, you know what? Instead of saying positive stuff to me, I don't want to hear this negativity. It's what my son wants, and I respect that. So yeah. I did do his hair. I was combing his hair, brushing it, and it's really thick hair as well. My son has. So yeah, we bought him some badge. He started wearing them around the house just to get familiar. And then one day he decided, no, I'm going to school with a badge now. So what we decided to do is phone the school and just say, okay, my son's going to come into school tomorrow. He's going to look a little bit different. He's going to be wearing. We explained what it is. It's a badge. It's like a headscarf. It's my son's going through this religious journey, and he wants to cover his head all the time. So we did say to the school, can you keep an eye on him just in case, because we lived in a predominantly English area. I think there might have been a couple of Indian kids there that cut their hair, but my son was the only one that was going to go in wearing this badge. And the school were like, yeah, absolutely, we'll support him. Now the first day he got to school, it was playtime, and what happened, one of the English boys decided to walk up to my son and just rip his badga off his head. His badga was off, his hair was all out. And then luckily one of his other English friends ran over to my son and tried to tie his badga up. So my son went to the toilet, got himself composed. It wasn't until my son didn't come home and tell us. It was the boy's dad that phoned and said, is your son okay? I'm like, why, what's happened? Oh, well... Sorry,
the bully's dad or his friend?
No, the friend, this English lad
okay.
that tried to tie this badga up because he could see my son
distress.
Was distressed. So he went to tie his hair up, his badga back up. And the dad phoned and said, oh, is your son okay? Because some boy took his headscarf off. I don't know what it's about, but even the dad said it will be really nice for me to know why he wears that so I can explain it to my son. So we then approached our son and said, okay, so what happened at school? And my son said, well, I was in the playground, a boy walked over, pulled it off my head, and it opened all of my hair. So as you can imagine, any parent would feel absolutely hurt. I was livid, actually. We were both really angry. So the next morning we phoned the school. We arranged a meeting with the head teacher and explained what had happened. And the head teacher did ask us, well, what do you want to do about this? And we said, well, people in the school need to understand why my son is looking different now all of a sudden, why he has his head covered, what his religion means to him. So we asked the head teacher, could somebody from the RE department, whoever, please speak to the school in assembly and explain a bit about our religion, what it is, just educate people a little bit because there's lack of education. So the head teacher said, well, why don't you do this? Why don't you have a word with your son, see if he's comfortable, and if he's comfortable, can he stand up in assembly and just explain this? So this is my son at the age of 5. Okay, we got home and we said, son, this is what the school is suggesting. Only if you're comfortable, would you like to talk about it? And he said, without any hesitation, yes, I want to do this. Wow. So the next big assembly, that it happens once a week, was the following Monday. And I remember my son going into school knowing that he's got to do this talk about his hair and Sikhi. I said, okay, should we talk a bit about it? And he was like, no, I know what to say.
I've got this. I've got this.
Mum, I've got this sorted. I thought, okay. I thought, do you know what? He's been to enough Sikhi camps. He knows a lot. It's embarrassing. He knew a lot more than me. So he then went to school, and it wasn't until the head teacher phoned me and my husband and said, do you know what? If you were in assembly today, you would be the proudest parents. Your son stood up in front of all these children, and it was a long thing that he said, but what I really remember is him saying, I am Sikh, my hair is my pride. When you touch my hair, you're disrespecting my religion and you're disrespecting Sikhi. So please, in future, do not touch my hair ever again. And you know what, up until this day, this happened, my son's now 13, it happened when he was 4 or 5 years old. So nobody's ever touched his hair, and and that's the story of my little boy.
Well, that is amazing, and that courage at that age, it evokes the spirit of Sikhi and the Sahibzade of at their age, and the spirit that they had, and the youth. They can inspire so many people, and he actually inspired his dad as well.
Oh yeah, so absolutely. So if I could just say, Indy, with like my son, and the way him standing up at school and doing what he did, it really gave him confidence. I think we were fortunate because the head teacher was really willing at the time. So, and we were fortunate because my son wanted to stand up in front of the school. He wanted to tell people. So education is so important. Hopefully we might touch upon that a bit later on, but it's something so important and so powerful, and something that we need to do moving forward. But yeah, my husband, so this was my son at the age of 5, and then my husband actually sat me down and said, Rosie, I want to have a chat with you. I'm thinking of growing my hair. And I'm like, wow, son, now husband.
Never sending him to a camp again.
no, absolutely not. No, because of that, honestly, the whole family has done a bit of a turn towards Sikhi. So we were a proper Punjabi family. My parents, my background, but we're on a really slow, but we're on a Sikhi path now. But yeah, my husband said, Rosie, I would like to grow my hair. What do you think? And I'm like, well, do you know what? I married you for who you are. So if you want to grow your hair, do it. My husband wanted to do it. He didn't want to be one of these dads where the son's walking around with a gutta and the dad doesn't have the star or anything. So I said, you know what? If that's how you feel, he felt really strong, do it, go for it. I think he was nervous because he heard of other relationships breaking up, wives leaving their husbands, because all of a sudden he's gone from Mona to the star. So I now have a son who wears a patga, and his hair is honestly almost near his ankles, which I have to manage on a regular basis, but my son's getting good. And I've got a husband also who has lots of hair now, and he wears the star. So yeah, it's been really positive.
Wow, it just shows the power and the spirit of a 5-year-old Sikh boy, what it can do and how it can change lives. And so many parents say to me, they say, all their a man spends all his life listening to his mother, and then later on in life listening to his wife, but no one can really change him. The only person that really can change someone is what a lot of parents say is their children. So definitely in this scenario, that's what's happened. And even if it was, we have a lot of people, a lot of parents saying your husband decided to keep his hair, but there's an old kind of Punjabi culture where there'll be parents who didn't necessarily keep their hair, but they kept their kids' hair, and that was purely wanting the best for your children. So you want your son or daughter either growing up in a Sikh environment because you want the best for them, and then there's a lot of parents who say no, we don't keep it, so we don't want them to do it. And my theory on that is, I have this within the community, I have this chat a lot of the time, is so if you didn't go to university, are you saying you don't want your children to go to university? Of course not. You want your children to do better than what you did. You want the best life for your children. That's what you want in education. You should want that in all aspects of life. If I only boxed at amateur level and my son wanted to box at professional level, and if I only matta take on a Sunday at the Gurukar, but my son, he wants to take Umrat, you want your children to excel in everything, no matter whatever you've done or whatever journey you are in your life. You want the best for your children, education, spirituality, sport, whatever that is. So there's a lot of parents out there that feel, I can't keep my children's hair because I'm not doing it. I don't want my kids to go down the Sikh path because I'm not following it. And the reality of it is, you want the best for your children.
Of course you do.
You want the best for your children. So I'm just going to take it back to that question that I asked you earlier, Mansingh, about the bullying, about being a young lad. Is it a part of the process, getting bullied and coming through it, being strong, or can it go the other way, and can it break you? Can it put you in a shell? Can it change you the other way?
So this to me is a double-edged, tricky question. Is it a part of the process? It has been a part of the process for us, but it shouldn't be a part of the process going forward for anybody else. No one out there should have to face bullying or ever be a victim. Obviously, us growing up in a different time where there wasn't social media, being the only Guttiwara in a school full of non-Sikhs and stuff, it was part of the process where we got bullied, where we had to hold our own, and where we took the name calling and the beatings. But it shouldn't be a part of the process going forward. No kid, no child should ever have to go through any amount of bullying. So we need to now, as a community, together look forward at solutions of how to empower our children, make them assertive, make them strong, and make them wise as well, in terms of make them proud. So when a conversation does come up, they can represent Sikhi and their case, like your young son done. And you know what, shout out to your child for doing that. That gave me honsla. Hearing that made me happy that my children will, when their turn comes, they will stand in assembly and do the same. So we need to go out there now and empower our children and equip them more than we were equipped at that age. So they should have the knowledge, the confidence, and the physical capability of defending themselves. So walking around with their head held high, sure of who they are.
And do you know, Baji, based on what you've just said there, you're right, because as a result of what happened to my son, we continued the Sikhi camps to empower my son with that knowledge, and also we started to send my son for self-defense classes, so boxing. My husband made made it an absolute point to make sure that he does learn self-defense, so should something happen again in the future, he's equipped with that.
I mean, I want to go on to that because obviously the martial arts side of it, and not even the martial art, the self-defense, the confidence side of it is a very, very big thing. So I do want to go on to that, but just wanted to touch on with you, Mansingh. So earlier on, my question being, does it make the kids stronger if they go through it? And 20 years ago, tragically, there was a case where a young Sikh boy, very similar to this incident, but obviously there wasn't social media, there wasn't cameras, these kind of things around back in them day, but it did, the bullying took its toll, and it led to a very, very tragic event that we all is in our memory still to this day.
it is something that a lot of people, including myself, ponder of and come back to and think of this child, our child that is no longer with us. His name was Vijay Singh. He's 13-year-old from Manchester, and he was getting bullied in school. And this is why the support networks are so important, because this guy felt like he never had no support network. And his last words, I'm just going to read them. He wrote a poem, and this poem shakes my core today. These were his last written words, and this was it. Monday, my money was taken. Tuesday, names called. Wednesday, my uniform torn. Thursday, my body pouring with blood. Friday, it's ended. Saturday, freedom. And these were the final diary pages of our brother Vijay Singh. And he was bullied in school. And as a family, as a qawm, we've got to be there for each other, and we can't let this happen to anyone ever again. And when it does happen, because things like this do happen, we've got to have the support network set up. We've got to have mentoring systems with children's camps, and we've got to stamp out bullying altogether. And the way to do that is manifold, the support networks, and two, making our children stronger.
And you're talking about making them stronger. I mean, we have as a young lad, and you're going through a tough time. You get told by your elders, Sherban, man up, basically. And sometimes that's not enough. It's just just that, saying that alone, man up, Sherban. It's not enough to kind of get you through. What can get you through these difficult times?
I'll give you an example. So a few years ago, we were doing Seva at Gurdwara Baba Sangh in Smevik, where we had a Sikh youth forum, and there were martial arts classes and stuff like that running at the same time. And it was after one of these forums, I was walking in the corridor with another Singh, and I saw a young Sikh lad. He was crying, and he was visibly shook, and his hands were shaking. And I said to him, "Kidda Singh, theek hai?" And he just looked at me, and he broke down, he cried. And I was like, "Yo, Singh, what's going on? Like, Ajay, let's come to the side." So we took him to the side, and we took him into the office. And in the office at that time was the Pradhan of the Gurdwara and the General Secretary. And we go, "Singh, beja, like, ki hoya?" And he was sitting there, and he was crying. And I go, "Koi gal nahi, you know what, we're here."
How old did he look to you?
He looked about 13, 14. And then, do you know when he kind of looked up, we saw he had swelling under his eye, he had a bit of bruising in it, yeah. His teeth and gums were a bit bloody. We thought, you know what, there's been something's happened.
Some altercation.
And we go, you know what, but Nalia, tell us. And this kid was, he just came from India about a year ago. He was at the local school, and obviously not being able to speak English well, not knowing the culture well, and having case, he had a red cross on his back for a target for bullies. And we spoke to him, and he goes, certain other community have targeted him, and those boys just beat him up, and he ran to the Gurdwara. And we're like, "Whoa, do your parents know?" He goes, "My parents know, but they just said don't do anything, just run away, or just tell the teachers.
Avoid it."
Yeah, and we were like, "Well, let's go home and talk to your parents." So we even took the Pradhan. The Pradhan was visibly like distraught as well, having young children. His hands were sweating, and he goes, "Let's go and talk to the parents." We went and spoke to the parents, and the parents said those same bullies come to the house as well. They post shit through the letterbox. They bang on the door late at night, and they keep pressing the buzzer because he's living on a bottom floor flat. And we like, "Tusi kyun nahi kuch karte? Why aren't you doing anything? Why don't you come to the Gurdwara? Tell us. Why don't you go to the police?" And there was like, "Appa kar nahi sakte. We can't say anything. Appa aap kache hai." And their mentality was, we're not permanent in the country. We haven't got passports or green cards or stay here. We're hiding ourselves. And they were cowering away, and they were scared of this. And we said, "You know what? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what your situation was. Appa na liya twadde." And then we kind of took it on ourselves to pick that kid up, to bring him to the Gurdwara. He started joining the martial arts class there. And now 4 or 5 years later, he walks around with his head up. You'll see him sometimes, he walks around with his head up, much stronger, sure of who he is, because he's been trained in terms of, he went through 2-3 years of martial arts classes. And not just that, we taught him the mentality of how to walk, how to talk, how to just say no, no, no. When they're saying something to him at school, how to just use his voice and say no.
Clear boundaries, having clear boundaries.
And just to keeping that distance, not even fighting. He was not everyone can fight, and this guy wasn't that. But he got that confidence, so I'm going to tell him no. This not right, no, you go away. And he said that. And we gave his parents horns as well, that, you know what, the community's with you, despite what your situation, we're all together. And that really made a difference and made me think, you know what, every single Godvara needs an Akara, needs something. And the other thing that kid came and said to us, he's bullied as well by our own community. He was going to the Punjabi school and our own community were bullying him and picking on him, calling him freshie and making gutti jokes. And that's the thing that we need to clean our own house as well out first.
Definitely.
We ain't taking no Gyanni's jokes like, oh, Gyanni Uria. We ain't taking no gutti jokes. And we ain't making them either. We're never going to refer disrespectfully to another young Singh or Singhini or brother or sister. We're going to speak with each other with the most upful and respect and love. And that comes from the role models around and camps. Like Benji said, we can't stress how important camps and classes are. Like I've taken so much from camps and classes, and I feel like in a Geratkan that I've not been able to give it back as much. So that's my aim, is, you know, to go to these camps, watch them.
There's many reasons as a young lad going to a camp. I remember when I was a young lad, I didn't go through inspiration. I want to learn about my Sikhi. I want to be inspired. I want to connect spiritually.
You probably went for the chips and beans.
I literally did. I think one of my friends, Jai, he dragged me along, and I just thought, oh, my other mates are going to be there. I'll go just to chill with my mates. I didn't really go to learn anything. But obviously, if you got people in the friends who take you into the right environments, you can learn so much. So I initially went because my mates went, and because of chips and beans and the pizza. But you know, the longer I stayed and the more camps I went to, I learned, and so it was a massive thing for me. And just touching on the martial arts is it takes effort. So as a parent, no instructor that I'm aware of is going to pick your kids up and drop them off and sort their uniform out, their martial arts one, and pay for, give them free classes. It takes effort. And Rosie, as a parent, taking your son, you got to pick them up, you got to drop them off as soon as they get back in from school, and then you got to sort their uniform out for their martial arts class. There's going to be days where they're like, oh, mum, I don't want to go today, I want to play computer games. And, as a parent, to all the other parents out there, how would you encourage other parents to take their kids to martial arts? And there's a big, just to add to that, there's a big worry there, I don't want my son to get violent. If anything, it gives the child discipline more than anything.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I just want to start by just mentioning something that Baji talked about earlier about bullying, and I think it's really important for us parents to try and identify and pick up, because not all children will come home, there won't be a video out there on social media every time. We don't know how many children are being bullied right now or in school on Monday, Tuesday, so it's really important as parents we identify and talk to our children so our children can tell us that they are being bullied or if you see signs or the personality changing. It's really important that as parents we really hone in on that to understand what is going on with our children. So I just wanted to make that point because I thought it was really, really important for us parents to look out for signs of potential bullying. So going back to martial arts, I sometimes I feel like I'm a taxi driver. It's a taxi service. Pick the kids up, drop them off, go boxing. From boxing, there's other kind of fitness training or there's football or whatever it may be, Punjabi class. My son has days where I can't be bothered, or he'll say my legs are hurting or my big toes hurting and I can't do it today. But you know what? It's so important as parents that we encourage and support our children. Like the children go to school every day. They don't want to get up in the morning. They don't want to get out of bed, but they still go to school. But very similar, when it comes to martial arts and self-defense, as parents, we need to think, hang on a second, my child could be that next Singh. My child could be the next one that's being bullied. should that happen to my son or my daughter, you know, how would you want your child to respond to that same incident? Let's say, you know, your child was to go through something similar. So I think it's really important.
And Benji, just to cut in on that point, and not just that's going to happen to my child's going to be the one walking past, sees that, and doesn't let it happen. You know what? They're that people that they don't let anyone get bullied. When my child's around, everybody's safe.
Absolutely. Do you know what? It's a really good point, because in the video there are other children hanging around looking. There's cars slowly driving by. Not one person stopped and interjected to say, "Hang on a second, what the hell is going on over here?" So absolutely.
And coming back to that, if you're not interjecting and helping, you know what you are? You're a silent participator.
Absolutely.
You're taking part.
Yes,
if you allow badness to happen, you're just as bad.
I
So
agree.
anything happens, you know what? Stamp it out straight away. So nothing like this can happen, regardless of who it's happening to.
Yeah. So I encourage every parent out there to support your children, get them, you know, trained on self-defense. If you haven't done so already, I think it's really important you send a letter to the school and do your bit. Don't just sit there and think, do you know what? Rosie's on air talking about this, Baji's here talking about it, it's okay.
There'll be somebody else dealing with it.
Dealing with it, you know. We've got a host that's asking great questions, so it's in hand. It's not in hand. It takes every single Sikh out there, all of our community, to stand together, united, contact the school, bombard the school with email after email, after call after call after call. Put them in a position where they have to switch off their lines because they can't deal with the demand.
They did do that.
Did they?
Yeah.
But there you go.
I had so many people call and say, "Jack, Denny, no one's answering," and then I go, just leave messages.
Probably my 50 calls.
We're not going to stop.
Yeah.
You touch one of ours, you know what? Everyone's going to stand up.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and you know, it's the funny thing is that we're in such a complaints kind of environment now, where if your delivery for your Amazon parcel that you don't even need, you just brought because you've been working from home for ages, if it's 5 minutes late, you're sending an email straight away. Yeah, you get any kind of bad customer service anywhere, you're ringing them up, you're letting them know. But when it comes to protecting our youth, sometimes, somebody else will do it. So it's a really important point, and I think the words that you said there, do your bit. Don't rely on anyone else, say somebody else is dealing with it. Do your bit. And Marcy, just to bring in your actual podcast here.
Yeah.
So for all the young Sikhs, all the young Singhs, all the boys and girls, or anybody of any age in our community, you do a podcast called the Sikh History Podcast, talking about our rich history. And how important is it for our youth to know their history?
Okay, so you can teach them martial arts, very important, but more important than knowing how to fight is knowing what to fight for. And martial arts can make you strong and give you a good right hook, but the story of our elders, our Sakya, of our Shaheeds, can make you brave and strong and fearless, and that's so vital. You know what? To make strong children, tell them the stories of strong warriors. If you want to make Teletubbies, let them watch Teletubbies. What you see, what you ingest is what you will become. Every day, if you listen to the stories of warriors, our Shaheeds, the strong, in the same way, that will be inside you. That will be part of you. And it's inseparable. It's in our blood. When we hear these Sakyas, something wakes up in us. And you know what? That's what happened at kids camps. Kids hear these Sakya and they become strong. And we talked about protecting the youth. We protect them not by wrapping them in cotton wool, not by picking them up and dropping them off at school and cutting their sandwiches into nice squares. We protect them by making them strong. We protect them by arming them with the knowledge of their history. We protect them by giving them Gurbani. We protect them by giving them the art of Shastra Vidya, boxing, wrestling. Guru Angad Dev Ji Maharaj started Mallakara. Our second Guru, Guru Nanak Dev Ji, wrestled as well, but our second Guru started an Akara of wrestling. And when I imagine the Guru, I imagine Maharaj with cauliflower ears. I imagine Maharaj with a tough face, because they were a warrior through and through, inside and out. Each and every single one of our gurus was a warrior, capable of finishing the world with the click of fingers. Each one of our Shaheeds is stronger than anyone that we can even imagine. They are our heroes. And every day we listen to the stories of our heroes. we will slowly begin to act like heroes.
Baji, and that's why Sikhi camps are so important, because my children learnt all this. Sikhi camps are not like they used to be when I used to go. You'd sit there, if you made a noise, you'd get a little stick on your hand and you'd be like, oh, I'm in trouble, I can't talk again. Whereas now, the Sikhi camps, they're educational, they're interactive, they get the children involved, they go and do puzzles, they, you know, there's competitions, etc. And they learn so much about our history. Whereas back in the day, for me, going to the Gurdwara, eating prasad was me, I'm a Sikh. Did I know anything about Sikhi? Whereas I don't want my children to have that. And I'm not blaming my parents for this at all, but I did say to my mum, I said, Mum, why didn't you teach us about Sikhi? Why do my children know more than me at this age? Why did I not know all this? You know, and
I mean, it's a generational thing, but
it is.
I mean, we've learned so much today. We're just coming towards the end of the podcast. So, final thoughts from yourself, Benji, Rosie?
I just want to say to that young lad that's out there, he's absolutely amazing. And you know what? This is going to go down in history because of you and that video that's gone viral, and you getting back up when you were pushed down. You kept getting back up. Your gears was out. You were still getting back up. Honestly, it just reminded me of one of the Shahbazad, that you were just like a little warrior getting back up again and again and again. You are absolutely fantastic, and you are going to go down in history because you are going to start something amazing here, and you're going to help support all those other children that are being affected and are being bullied. Luckily, it is, I say luckily, because of you, it's coming out in the open. I wonder how many other children are out there, the same things happening day after day after day. But no, I just want to say respect to you, little boy, and you are absolutely fantastic. And if I was your mum and dad, I'd be so proud of this little boy who kept getting up again with his punch, you know, to get these guys that were dragging you down. So no, well done. I'm really proud of you. You're a proper Sikh boy.
And that's brilliant. And Baji, yourself?
To finish off, I just want to say, one person can't do everything, but everybody can do something. Every single person listening where you are, you can all do something like you did, like you wrote those emails and those phone calls. You can all do something. Each one teach one is the philosophy that I live by. And each Sakhi that you learn, something good that you learn, it's useless if you don't pass it on to at least one other person. You know what? You can all do something. Everyone out there, start your own podcasts. Start doing your own Sikhi related, strength related cartoons, pictures. Start making films. Start telling stories, writing poems. You can do everything. And there are martial arts academies out there. And obviously Indy's going to shout them out at the end of the class. But you know what? Start your own podcast. Do everything like the Singhs here. I've got a sick setup. I do mine bendufied at home from a mobile phone. With nothing you can do. Everyone can do something. You know, all come together. Got each other's back. When we're strong together, you know what? We're never going to fall.
And you know, I just want to say to all the parents out there, because for every child from kind of 9 to 15, 16 years old, it's going to be the parents that are going to be taking them to martial arts class. So I'm probably pitching this to you is please take your kids. We've got Lions MMA up and down the country, from down south all the way through to the Midlands, through up north. We've got, I'm just going to run through them all. We've got Lions MMA Cape Hill, Lions MMA Tiverdale, G&G Smethwick, Boxing Akara, Baba Sang Smethwick, martial arts. We've got Bradford, we've got Lions MMA, Coventry, we've got our Khalsa Akara there, Hitchin, we've got Lions MMA, Huddersfield, we've got Lions MMA, Leicester, we've got Lions MMA, Hari Singh Nalwa Combat Academy, and we've got Respect Fitness. We've got Willenhall, Lions MMA, Wolverhampton Lions MMA, and also in London we've got Lions Reign. And I'll just like to, sorry, I've missed a couple off there. We've got Akal Muay in London, Sukh and the boys there doing a great job. Beast MMA, Lack second on the other boys. Singh Sabha East London, who just started, who are doing really, really good work. So up and down the country, and don't think that's enough. Every single Guru Card, if there's anybody from any committee listening or any ex-martial artist, go to your local Guru Card, start a martial arts class, start it next weekend. And if you ever lose motivation, just think of this young boy, think of Vijay Singh, think of anyone to inspire you to go all the way. It might be hard at the start, but 100%, you know, you'll reap the rewards. I've been teaching for 5-6 years. I've seen young boys and girls come and grow and be confident young adults. So it's really, really rewarding. All the committees up and down the country try, push, hire somebody in, pay them, get them to do classes. Let's arm our youths with strength and with knowledge and with history and with a skill set. So just to finish off with, there's also, like Rosie Benji said, all the other avenues. If anything happens and it's not as high profile as this at your local school, in your local area, you could be from the suburbs, out somewhere where there's not a big community, do your bit, push it all the way, seek help. If not, do what you can by yourself until you can get further assistance. One Sikh child, any child being bullied is one child too many. So I'd like to thank everyone, and it's been great to be back for today's podcast, and we'll be getting as many out as soon as possible. A big thank you to all our guests today. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.